The youngest is 14, the eldest only 17. 4 girls and a boy taken into care in West Sussex after arriving illegally from Vietnam. Now they've gone missing. Authorities repeatedly see Vietnamese teenagers disappear. Police believe many of them have been trafficked. Organised gangs targeting the poorest parts of Vietnam bring teenagers to Britain to work illegally. Their freedom taken, their lives controlled by criminals. Chi was 16 when he left Vietnam. Because he's at risk, we've changed his name. Back home, his family are farm workers, growing rice and vegetables. He was working too when his family was approached and told he could earn far more working overseas.
I left home and I was very young. My mom advised me that I should go abroad and work to send money back home. They said when I come to the UK that I would have a very good job and I would earn a lot of money.
Chi quickly realised the promises he'd been made were false. He was put to work in shops and restaurants by Vietnamese men and became completely under their control. How much were you paid?
I didn't have any official wages or salary when I was working there. Basically, I worked, and it depended on how much they wanted to give me for the week.
Where were you sleeping?
I either slept right in the restaurant or in the shops where I was working, or I went back to the owner's place and spent the night there. I had to listen to them and do whatever they asked for me to do because I was aware that in this country I didn't know anyone.
Eventually, he lost all contact with the outside world.
They told me that they found new jobs for me. They took me away and put me in another place, and I started to do illegal jobs.
He was sent to work in a cannabis house, hidden away and unable to leave.
They showed me exactly what I had to do, how to cover the window, how to water the plants daily. They sometimes threatened me and warned me that I shouldn't go out and not to tell anyone.
Chi was arrested during a raid and later was identified as a victim of trafficking.
Confidentiality is about not giving their story to strangers.
He's now in this safe house in the south with others trafficked from Vietnam.
It's very important to not give this address away to anybody. It's important that when they come, that the police will often give them a new phone so that they're not traceable by the traffickers, who are very good at finding people.
We were given access on the condition we keep its location secret. Graham, who works here, has seen all too many Vietnamese victims of trafficking.
I had a young man from Laos who they beat with a gun, handcuffed him during the day so his hands were out front so he could work, and at night they handcuffed him at the back, and his feet. So they're not all compliant. Some do escape.
But even if they escape, their families at home often owe huge amounts of money to the traffickers.
If these guys suggest that they need to borrow $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, which they're happy to lend them, they'll ensure that then the young man will get across the borders, they'll get him passports, they'll get him ID papers, and he'll get to the UK, he'll have a good job, he'll receive an education, and he'll be able to pay not just his debt back, but he'll be able to also support his family. So they go for it.
Chi still lives in fear over the debt he believes he still owes his traffickers. What do they tell you back home about what will happen with that debt? What are you being told?
I know that it was a big amount of money that my family owe from when I came here. That's why when I first arrived, I tried my best to work hard and send some money back home. And at that time, my mom also confessed to me that it was her mistake to pay that amount of money and send me abroad. So I feel the burden on the family, but I've got no way to get out of it.
That debt is still on their shoulders back home.
Absolutely.
So that's having an influence on what
Of course,
they do.
it would be. They got that for life. You know, unless they win the pools or something else happens. You know, seriously, these guys want that money back, and of course, the interest is accruing.
The Hampshire Police and Crime Commissioner says he's determined to crack down on the criminals behind slavery through an initiative encouraging the public, police and other authorities to take action.
What we wanted to do was to make the public aware that modern slavery exists. We want people to look out for it in their communities, to understand what it is, to report it, to stamp it out across Hampshire and the Isle of Wight.
It seems a difficult, murky world that you're dealing with here. Are your initiatives really going to make a difference?
I think you have to start. If we don't start, we'll never know the answer to that question. It exists now in Hampshire and the Isle of Wight. I think because people ignore its existence, they don't believe that it goes on in their communities. And we need to begin the programme and the progress of stamping it out.
Only a handful of slavery cases come before our courts. The Anti-Slavery Commissioner for Britain wants to see more of those responsible brought to justice.
In the south it's a particular issue because there are main ports, there is a good economy, there are opportunities for people to be exploited, whether that's in agriculture, whether that is in car washes, whether it's in nail bars, whether it's in construction or sexual exploitation or indeed forced criminality. So there is a big market for this in the south of England. And we also know that a lot of the criminals are targeting this region.
After being found working at a cannabis house, Chi avoided a drugs conviction. But many like him don't. Solicitor Philippa Southwell regularly fights to get convictions overturned for those she believes have been wrongly prosecuted. How often do you think victims of trafficking are being mistaken for criminals?
Every day. I defend victims of trafficking that have been forced into all sorts of criminality. The most frequent one is Vietnamese nationals trafficked to the UK for cannabis cultivation. In almost all of the cases that I advise on appeal, they've been advised by their previous legal teams to plead guilty. And we will continue to get low conviction rates of trafficking if we continue to prosecute these victims that are involved in forced criminality.
What the future holds for Chi and the others I met is uncertain. Some victims are transferred to accommodation for asylum seekers. Some face deportation. Others fall back into the hands of criminals. Chi's story is the tip of the iceberg. And while police say they're doing all they can to crack down on the traffickers, until the gangs are stopped, some people in the south of England will be working, exploited, hidden, and living their lives as modern-day slaves. For now, Chi, at least, feels safe.
I've been in this place for nearly 3 weeks. I really like it. I feel safe and feel happy every day. I feel better. No one tell me what to do and something I don't like. I feel the people care about me.